right now at 6, Oregon and Washington once again take the Trump administration to court.
Remember, it's about voter integrity. We want to have honest voting in our country.
Plus, why local experts say the measles outbreak is likely much more widespread than numbers show.
13 cases that have been reported to public health are only the tip of the iceberg.
Then, a reality check on Mount Hood and what our slim snowpack could mean for the future.
This kind of year is something that we'll be experiencing a lot more often in the coming decades.
And later, turning up the heat as the Portland Fire picks its first players with the season just 1 month out.
Imagine having her ball in the hands more. I think, yeah, sky's the limit for her.
But first at 6, 20 states, including Oregon and Washington, are now firing back at an executive order by the president, one that, if allowed to stand, could reshape mail-in voting across this country. KGW's Kyle Bosch is in the newsroom tracking that new lawsuit. Kyle.
Well, this lawsuit comes just days after President Trump issued an executive order that would bar the Postal Service from sending mail-in and absentee ballots to people who aren't on a national list of eligible voters. That state-by-state voter list would be compiled by the Department of Homeland Security, along with the Social Security Administration.
The state of Oregon is pushing back against President Trump's executive order, which aims to restrict voting by mail. On Friday, more than 20 states filed a lawsuit against the Trump administration, arguing the directive is unconstitutional.
The reality is this: the president has not and never will have the power to regulate elections here in the United States of America.
Earlier this week, the president signed the executive order outlining new rules for voting by mail, which directs the federal government to review voter roll data across the country to verify eligibility. It also asked the U.S. Postal Service to take measures to ensure that ballots are only sent to eligible voters.
I don't know how it can be challenged. I'll probably challenge it. You may find a rogue judge. You get a lot of rogue judges. Very bad people, very bad judges.
Oregon pioneered vote by mail in the mid-1990s, eventually becoming the first state to conduct all elections by mail, and now has some of the highest voter turnout rates in the country.
In Oregon for 30 years, the Postal Service is a way that Oregonians have gotten access to the ballot. The federal government is threatening to make the Postal Service a gatekeeper.
The president's order also lays out specific requirements for mail ballot envelopes, including requiring them to have a unique barcode for tracking. States and local governments that don't comply are at risk of losing federal funding. However, several judges have already blocked the president's previous efforts to force states to change their voting systems to his liking.
Voting rights advocacy groups, including the League of Women Voters and the ACLU, have also filed similar lawsuits to stop the latest executive order.
And Kyle, I know you'll be tracking it all along the way. Appreciate it. By the way, Oregon Secretary of State Tobias Reed also weighing in this evening, calling the president's order a, quote, clearly illegal power grab, going on to say, our Constitution is clear. States run the elections, not the Department of Homeland Security, not the Postal Service, and certainly not the president. We'll keep you posted as things develop. Well, let's take it outside now on this glorious Friday, because there's no other word. 61 degrees in the Rose City. If you're hoping for sunny and clear skies ahead, well, here's the good news. Things are looking up. Celine Stevens is here with a first look at your holiday weekend. Happy Friday, Celine.
Happy Friday, David. Yeah, things are looking up. Our temperatures are only going to be trending up as we get into this holiday weekend. But like you said, right now it's great. Taking a look at our sky camera at the Chehalem Tasting Room over in Sherwood, we're sitting in the low 60s, 62 degrees over there. And then low temperatures this morning were also relatively mild. I mean, we were in the upper 30s in Portland, 38 degrees. Places like McMinnville, definitely on the cold side. They hit freezing at 32 this morning, 33 in Hillsborough. And along the coast this morning, our lows were in the 30s, upper 30s in most areas. So it was a little cooler, but temperatures are going up. And as you'll see today, we already saw temperatures trending warm. 61 degrees was our high in Portland. Same story in Vancouver, 63 in Aurora. And then along the coast, our temperatures were in the mid to upper 50s. So if you liked today, you'll really like tomorrow if you like warm temperatures and sunny conditions. As you'll see, Saturday was clear until we get to the evening. Then we'll have some more clouds that roll in, leaving Sunday set up to be partially sunny. So keep that in mind. We'll have some clouds, but temperatures will be warm. So tomorrow we're looking at seeing temperatures in the low 70s. Sunday on Easter, we could see record warmth possible as we get up to the upper 70s again on Sunday. David, I'll have your full forecast in a bit.
Sounds like it's time for sunscreen and sunglasses. Thanks, Celine. New on the coast, state police are investigating a deadly crash in Lincoln County, one they believe involves both speed and impairment. Officers responded to Highway 24 east of Waldport before 8 last night, where they say a car had crashed off the road into the trees. The passenger, now identified as 51-year-old Jake Walton, was pronounced dead. The driver was life-flighted with serious injuries. In your headlines, a 28-year-old Marion County woman who was missing for almost a week has now been found safe. Maria Kilmer disappeared last Saturday after a car ran out of gas on Highway 22 in Staten, and an unidentified driver picked her up. Authorities say she's now reached out to a family member. Investigators say they have not found any evidence of a crime. In Columbia County, a grand jury has indicted a St. Helens man for attempted murder. The sheriff's office there saying 21-year-old Harrison Mugrage stabbed a person multiple times. Officers found the victim in late March after responding to a disturbance at an apartment complex. No word on the victim's condition at this point. The man accused of kidnapping a Salem 11-year-old outside her home last August has been convicted of all charges, including kidnapping and attempted rape. Authorities say Elijah Arce lured the girl away from her home. Neighbors found them about a quarter mile away near some shrubs. The surveillance video showing the moment police took him into custody. The girl there was not physically hurt. And to a developing and disturbing story along Puget Sound, where in the past couple days, authorities say the remains of 21 canines have washed up on an island in Skagit County. Investigators there say the animals have been skinned, making it hard to tell if they were coyotes or domestic dogs. A forensic veterinarian is now working to confirm.
Yeah, that's scary that there's somebody out there that is capable of doing this. So it's all we're talking about. The whole island that's all we're talking about the last couple days.
Depending on the circumstances in Washington, killing an animal can constitute a felony. Oregon health officials are now reporting 13 measles cases in the state so far this year, but say the real number is likely much higher. That's after additional exposures were announced this week in the Portland metro, including at a Safeway in southeast Portland, restaurants in West Lynn and Gresham, and the Providence Portland ER waiting room. Almost all confirmed cases involve unvaccinated people, and wastewater testing shows there are likely even more cases than what's been officially reported.
So we know that measles is much more widespread in the state than that number 13 represents. But for the vast majority of Oregonians who are vaccinated, they are not at risk for getting measles. Our measles vaccine is highly effective.
Well, you can check out KGW.com for a more detailed breakdown of the recent exposure sites. In southeast Portland, the Trader Joe's that had to shut down due to asbestos will reopen on Monday. That's after material from the flooring tested positive, forcing the location on Cesar Chavez to close last month. The store had been going through renovations, and DEQ says the cleanup finished earlier this week. Hundreds of faculty and staff at Portland State rallied this morning against what they could be the worst budget cuts in school history. The proposed plan targets 19 programs and more than 200 jobs as the university faces a $35 million budget gap. Officials point to declining enrollment and rising costs, but union leaders warn that students will feel the impact.
So unless we pull out by real investment in growth, real investment in recruitment, real investment in connections to employers that allow students legible pathways to employment and to internships and things like that, direct admissions programs, we can do that work, but we have to have the resources to do it.
University leaders who met today say no final decisions have been made. Oh, it is official. The first players have been drafted for the new Portland Fire. Our WNBA team making its picks in the expansion draft with tip-off, remember, just a few weeks out. Orlando Sanchez is with us. Orlando, sounds like the GM is thrilled with how this team is coming together.
Yeah, we're getting closer to basketball again. And this team ready to go. The foundation is being built. The Portland Fire selecting a total of 11 players in the WNBA expansion draft. The league's new teams, the Portland Fire and Toronto Tempo, picking players from the other 13 teams in the league who were only allowed to protect 5 players. With the first pick, the Portland Fire select forward Bridget Carleton from the Minnesota Lynx, a starter on one of the league's top teams last season. Playing 7 seasons in the league, Carleton is a 3-and-D player, a shooter and versatile defender, a 2-time Olympian with Canada, and former Big 12 Player of the Year at Iowa State. Fire General Manager Vanya Chernovitz on selecting Carleton first.
Everybody loves to play with Bridget, and to build around her. I think, she did an amazing job in Minnesota. And if you take her out of that environment and kind of start building the team around her, we think she can be an all-star player. She's an amazing defender, right? We all know she's a great shooter. She has such a low usage on ball, but is incredibly productive. So imagine having her ball in the hands more. I think, sky's the limit for her.
The team's second pick is French point guard Carla Late from Golden State. The 21-year-old is also a Euro Cup Finals MVP. Experience a common theme on this list of players picked. The goal is to be competitive right away.
No one has slept since Sunday, but we went through hundreds of scenarios, and honestly today went better than any one of us expected. We are excited. Out of all the scenarios in mock-up draft that we were best case scenario, worst case scenarios, this was the best one yet. This is the first step, and I think a great one that will kind of support us going into free agency.
The league has not announced a start date yet to free agency. The Fire hope to target some of the best players available, while also addressing needs. There's no guarantee every player selected today will make the final roster. The WNBA draft is on the 13th. They've got 3 picks, including the 7th overall pick. The first preseason game is April 29th.
Hey, they haven't even started playing and they're already beating expectations, right?
You'll take a win, right?
At least the GMs. Thanks, Orlando.